Hey, you guys, how's it going? How's everybody doing? So last time I was here, I was just kind of playing around, trying to use up some file folder, like offcuts, that I've had sort of just sitting in a drawer. Anyway, so I did just some collaging, just pages, just book papers and some ledger and stuff like that. And just wanted to put something on these little pieces of file folder. And then when I was done talking to you guys, I wound up doing quite a few of them. Well, the pile that I had. Um, when I was done with all of the covers, I just did some kind of like more like blank paper on the inside because I don't know what these are. I don't know if they're journals or if they're just going to be like little like tags to put into pockets or something. I don't know. But I didn't want to throw them away because I thought they were, they're useful. So anyway, so that's what I did on the inside of all of these. It's just, different kinds of paper. Some of them are, um, you know, uh, more of like a collage type of thing, but I wanted them to be like writing friendly, so you could write on them. Anyway, so then I had those and I was like, okay, now what do I do? What are these? And I've been really excited about the pressed flowers lately. So I decided to pull out, well, I had all my pressed flowers just kind of in this big flat, pretty hard, box. And they were just all kind of messed up. And it was making them break and stuff. Like as I would sort through them, some of them were breaking and whatnot. So I actually sorted out my pressed flowers. And then I had a bunch of flowers that I started pressing, I would say maybe, well, whenever that was that I talked to you guys about making the flower presses out of a book, out of a book cover. So I had a bunch that I started like that day, and I think it's been like 2 weeks. So it hasn't been that long. And it was really cool because they pressed and dried like a lot quicker than I expected. Um, so that's what these are. And all of these guys, these yellow ones, these are ones that I had already. There's some bleeding hearts and some hydrangea. I can't remember what those are, but I love those orange flowers. And and then these are alyssum. Um, and then these guys, I can't remember what these larger purple ones are, but these are lilacs. These little tiny ones are just little lilacs. We have a beautiful lilac shrub out in the backyard. And then pretty much all of these were just ones that I had already in that box. Oh, maybe these are new. But one thing that I forgot that I had was some orchids, some pressed orchids. Oh, these are geraniums. And these are super, super thin, like very, very, very thin geraniums, that purple and that kind of pinkish orange color. But these are the orchids. And I thought those turned out kind of cool, almost like eco dye kind of looking. I had two different orchids, and last year I decided to just press the blossoms. So anyway, and then some pansies and stuff like that. So pretty fun. And I guess I feel like I sort of rescued them from um, being destroyed by sorting them out. And what I'm using are just all of these boxes that I've been kind of collecting from um, different things. Like these boxes had some old like calendars in them. If it was like a gift or something. And so it came in a nice little box. So these are nice because they're real thin and sturdy little boxes. This is just another box, and its lid that happened to fit nicely into this box. And this is one of the airmail boxes. So I've had people ask, what do you store your paper flower or your pressed flowers in? So at the moment, this is what I'm storing them in. And some of them are, you know, they're just old boxes. So they're kind of useful. Anyway, so I really wanted to use some of the pressed flowers just because I was excited by them. And then also I've been really slacking on my fussy cutting. So I pulled out a whole bunch of flowers, a bunch of flower pages, and fussy cut for a couple days. So I have a ton of fussy cut flowers and stuff. And then I've also just been going nuts over mushrooms. So I fussy cut a whole bunch of mushrooms too. So I just want to put a little something on these little covers. And so I wound up doing that on a couple. And then I covered I did the flowers, and there's some leaves and stuff like that. These all have pressed flowers and leaves. And then I wanted them to be a little bit more like durable. So I thought, well, maybe I could cover them with some kind of tissue. Like one of the show and sell journals that I was looking through, and I feel so bad, I can't remember whose it was, that had the pressed flower on the page, and then it was covered with tissue and, you know, kind of decoupaged. So I don't have any tissue paper. So, but what I do have is this paper from that ledger. It was like a copy book that I've used before. You guys might remember these pages. So I did have a bunch of this, and I knew that it worked really well when it was glued on. It became sort of transparent if you sprayed it afterwards with some kind of spray. So I did that with a matte spray. And let me show you the one that I used, because I promised that I would. It's just this Krylon UV resistant clear acrylic coating. And it comes in, I think, like 4 different finishes. There's matte, and I think, I know there's a glossy, and then there's 2 in between that too. One of them I think is like pearl or something, and then a semi-gloss, I think. So anyway, so I have the matte, and then, so when you spray the paper with something like that, it adds some transparency. Like it makes the transparency sort of permanent, you know, or translucency, I guess, because it's not really transparent. But I don't know. Anyway, I sprayed it with the matte, and I didn't really like it. So then I sprayed these with the, this is a different thing. But I found this on Amazon, and it was really cheap. It was like $2.50 a can. So I actually bought like 4 cans of it, hoping that I would like it, and I actually do really like it. And it's funny that it's called triple thick crystal clear glaze, because I don't know, some of you may know that I love that triple thick coating that you can get at Hobby Lobby. And it's made by Deco Art. Anyway, but that's a brush on thing, and it takes forever for it to cure and dry so that it's not tacky. Anyway, so I sprayed these with this, and then it wasn't as translucent as I wanted it to be with just that matte coating. It actually, like when I first sprayed it, it became translucent, And then when it dried, it wasn't anymore. So then I tried the clear, or the like glaze one, the more glossy one. And it did retain a lot more of the transparency, but it wasn't as much as I really wanted, you know, because I want to be able to see the flowers, but I still like the idea of covering them with that paper. So it's kind of racking my brain, and I thought, well, maybe I could do like wax, you know, like beeswax or something like that, or encaustic wax. And I don't have any encaustic wax, but I do have beeswax. So basically, like, encaustic wax is like beeswax with a varnish in it. Okay, so it has like a varnish in it too. And so I tried to make my own encaustic wax, which I haven't even looked on YouTube. I'm pretty sure there's probably lots of ways you can make it, but I just decided to mix some varnish, basically triple thick, and in with the beeswax. And I like what it did. It definitely gave me a lot more like transparency. Okay. This doesn't have that on it, but it does right here. Okay. So right in that area, it has the paper. This area, I just did the wax. I didn't do any paper over it. Okay. So this is just waxed with the beeswax and resin. And then, so I painted that on, and then when it dries or when it cools, it turns kind of whitish, like milky looking. So I took the heat gun and I just kind of melted that wax again, just to get off like the thicker part of it. And I kind of just let it run all over. And then I thought, okay, well, that's cool. Now I'm going to try spraying it with that triple thick glaze. Well, I don't know how long it's going to take, but this stuff is still not dry. That glaze on there it's dry over here for some reason, but here where I had more of the wax, it hasn't really dried yet. So I don't know. And I don't think that you can really even see that there's wax on it. So it kind of just didn't really work, like sort of defeated the whole idea of using the wax, because I wanted it to be sort of like the paper did, you know. I wanted it to have a little bit of a milky kind of look, and I could play with it more just to see, or I could get some actual encaustic wax and see how I like that. But this wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. So then I was like, okay, well, what if I used to be really into coloring, and one of the things that is kind of fun to do is to use baby oil when using colored pencils, because it makes your color kind of transparent, you know. Anyway, so I coated this one with baby oil. It's actually just mineral oil. It's for my sewing machine, but I just added some of that. Oh, I did the flowers on there. Some of these are fussy cut flowers and some are pressed flowers. And then I glued the paper over the top. And after that dried, then I just squirted some of that oil on and just rubbed it around with my finger. And I really like how that turned out. This is what I was looking for with that, you know, where you can see the flowers and stuff, but they're protected by that layer of paper, you know. And then I actually did spray this then after coating it with the oil, let the oil, you know, doesn't really dry, but I didn't want, if somebody was feeling this, I didn't want it to feel oily, right? So then I sprayed this with the matte clear acrylic coating. And so that's basically sealed it. And it did dry. It dried really fast. and it doesn't feel oily at all, but it kind of looks like that a little bit. Anyway, so this one, I did the same thing. I glued, you know, one of these little images, some little flower or some little petals from a rose, and then I glued the paper over the top. You can see the writing from it going this way, the writing that's on that paper. Glued the paper on. I used PVA glue because that's what I have here on my desk. My tacky glue is almost dried up, and I don't know. I need to work on it or work with it if I'm going to use it, because it's a little cheaper than that PVA glue. Anyway, and then I just sprayed it with that triple thick glaze. Okay, so this one actually turned out how I wanted it. And I just kind of wanted to show you guys my like evolution of how this, you know, how I was working with this to try to get it to be what I wanted it to, or look like what I wanted it to look like. To opaque, like you can't really see the flowers and stuff through there. You sort of in person, but it's not the effect that I wanted. Anyway, so I would not spray that clear glaze over something that you've waxed. I remember I did the oil on this side. That's what I did. I remember I did oil over here. That's why it looks different. But that clear glaze does work over the oil. So that's why it dried better. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Okay. So I just wanted to sort of do the same thing on these guys, on the rest of these. I've got quite a few of them, and I'll just sort of show you what I was doing. I am going to use the PVA glue instead of a glue stick to glue these on, just because, you know, can't always use a glue stick, right? If I could, I would, though. Anyway, so I'm just going to do, actually, let me see what I want to use first. Hold on. Hold the phone. I'd like to do a couple of these little leaves maybe, or maybe some grass. I kind of like the grass. And if you have not been real into pressing flowers and stuff, don't forget about grasses and leaves and stuff. Like, this is a dandelion leaf, and I'm going to glue that on here. Just going to add enough. I don't want a ton. And then sort of just tap it down. And let's see, you know what? Maybe one of these pretty orange flowers. Actually, I'll use one that's more orange, or one that's more yellow, I mean. And I always use tweezers when I pick these up. I am actually putting a reasonable amount of pressure on that, just because I'm trying to push it down into the glue. And also I want to put a thin layer of glue over the top of the flower. And I guess that requires a little bit of pressure. It also holds it in place better when you're brushing it. Like if I just did it real softly, they have a tendency to tear when you do that. But if you can put enough pressure to where you're actually forcing it to like adhere to the glue that's underneath. At the same time, I noticed it doesn't tear as much. Let's see. Let's do another. I'm going to do another one of those, but I'm going to do it kind of like down here. And I want to put something on the back too. I poked it. Let's do one of these smaller ones. I wish I could remember what these flowers are called. But I love how they retained their color. Okay, let's put something on the back. Just something simple. I'll just do another one of these little rose leaf clusters. There. And then I do want to put some of this paper over the top. And I can do a couple layers of it, or a couple pieces of it. Doesn't have to be all one piece. So I'm just going to add some glue around the remainder of this. I actually did do some of these with a glue stick. And then I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Okay. Just kind of working my way out from the center, because this paper does have a tendency to kind of wrinkle when it gets wet. So I'm trying to like work out any opportunities for wrinkles at the same time. All right, and then I'm just going to add a little strip right there on the edge. Right there. Okay. Notice I'm not using baby wipes. Okay, so I'm going to let that one dry. Let's do another one. We'll try to, I want to use a mushroom. Some kind of mushroom. I haven't put my, I keep talking about these images, these mushroom images that I have from this book, this German botanical book. But I tell you, it's very similar to this, to the kit that I mentioned from Rachel. The mushrooms are very similar. I mean, the mushrooms aren't similar necessarily, but I mean, I guess mushrooms are mushrooms, but um, it's kind of similar. It's, you know, so I guess what I'm saying is if you want some cool mushrooms, which I think some of these are from Rachel's kit. Yeah, some of these are. Okay, like here's the difference. These are from Rachel's kit. They're a little more like, I kind of increased the color saturation on the file after I downloaded it. Yeah, and I think these are from Rachel's kit too. And then these are from the ones that I already had. So they're just slightly grainier, you know. Maybe not as high a resolution as the one that I scanned mine, but it didn't get the whole page. So I didn't get the whole page, and I want the writing. I know hers has the writing on it, which I think is really cool. So I have to, I'm going to wait until I can take mine and have it scanned somewhere else, and get that writing. So I was able to scan the images on my scanner, but I couldn't, you know, get the writing all on one image, you know. So I'm going to use some of this grass. And this is dry, like it was pressed in a book for quite a while. Longer than the flowers were. So I'm just pulling off some of these bottom pieces. This is tedious. It's tedious, but I think it looks really cool. Let's get one more small piece. Can you guys see what I'm doing? I want one more longer one. Okay. So a little bit of grass. And then I want to do a mushroom. I really love this blue one. Yeah, let's do that blue one. And this is from Rachel's book. Okay. And then let's put one on the back too, like maybe a little bit smaller one maybe, or... Oh, you know what? This is interesting. So her book had that image, but mine had this one, which is like a cross section of a mushroom where it was cut vertically in half. But I think it's the same mushroom as this one, as that one. It's just a different image. And I like that they cut it in half. I think it looks neat. So I'm just going to put it right there. And hers is in Italian too. I thought it was German at first, but then I looked at it closer and it's in Italian. Of course it is. You know what? I think I'm going to put one of these little blue flowers, these little purple blue flowers on here too. Oops. All right. Just, I mean, I'm not even, it's not like a major composition type of thing or anything like that. It's just want the images on there. And then let me find some paper. Because I really just want, I don't know. I mean, I do want to be able to see the mushrooms behind it, or the images, whatever, the flowers and stuff underneath the paper, but I think what adding this layer over the top of these elements, I think it kind of pulls it together to where, you don't necessarily need to have like a perfect, like I said, composition or whatever. I think that just kind of pulls it together for you. You could totally use tissue, right? Like, I just didn't happen to have any. So you could easily do this with your napkin. Like if you use paper napkins for collage and stuff, and the white part that you pull out of the center, you could totally use that for this. I have some napkins. I didn't want to take them apart just to use the white part, And I suppose you could use the like images from napkins too, right? And then actually do the mineral oil over the top if you use like images on napkins. I think that might be kind of fun, actually. I think it would be really pretty. Because there certainly are napkins out there in the world that are absolutely gorgeous. Some of the images. All right. So I'm going to wait to trim that off until after it dries. You can see how it wrinkles just a little bit. That will just like flatten out. I don't think you would have that kind of trouble with other types of paper, but this paper, it does kind of get wrinkly when it gets wet. It doesn't do that when you use a glue stick though, which I think is kind of interesting. Okay. So this one is basically dry. Like, it's not 100% dry, but it's dry enough. So I'm going to trim this paper off. I hope you guys can see okay. Let me put that in my water. So I'm thinking if I like this and these turn out kind of cool, what I'm thinking I might do is do something like that. This is just almost like practice for something bigger that I might want to do, you know. But I might do a series of doing some you know, like botanical themed journals that I've been talking about. And this might be kind of cool for the covers. Anyway, so I buy sewing machine oil for my old sewing machines that have to have oil. I buy it in a large bottle. It's made by, it's called Lily White, and I believe it's just mineral oil, but it does specifically say sewing machine oil. Anyway, and then I get these bottles on Amazon also that has the little like kind of angled applicator tip that's metal, and then it has a little cap that goes on it. Anyway, so just a little squeeze, and I like this because you can get it into little tiny places. Give it a little squeeze, and then I just went over it with my finger and kind of smeared it around. You know, you could always put you could totally do this with baby oil, and just put it in a little bowl and brush it on too. I just happened to like smearing it around with my finger. Okay, so let it kind of soak in for a second. Grab a paper towel and wipe off the extra. Some of that oil gets on the back and stuff, but it's not like a huge deal, right? So there. And then I'm going to let this continue to dry, let it finish drying, because I know that that glue is still slightly wet underneath. And then I'll take them out in the garage and spray them. And they will come out like this one. So I don't know. I just think that's kind of cool. And I love the writing on this paper. So I know that you probably don't have this paper. So what you could do is take your tissue and do some stamping on it, right? Like even just like a text stamp, a script stamp, and you know, use a dye-based ink, and then you know, make sure it's nice and dry. And then when you tear it up, you know, you'll get just random bits of script and stuff. If you know, if you're looking to get the same type of look. I haven't tried doing this with any other papers though, so you know, you have to play around with it. But you know, like I haven't used the paper that comes in napkins, or even regular tissue paper. This is the only paper that I've tried this with. So but anyways, I just want to show you guys what I was doing and kind of let you know what direction I'm headed, and say hi. So it's been a couple days now. Anyways, I hope you guys are doing okay, and let me know what you think. Okay, love you. Bye for now.